Well, welcome to another episode of Koi, Colours of You. We've got Jonathan Hallam here today, who's kindly agreed to be on the podcast. So thank you very much, John.
No worries. Thank you very much for inviting me.
We were just discussing, would you consider yourself a photographer, or would you consider yourself more an artist?
I think I would consider myself as an artist.
Yeah.
But I've done many things, so like it's been a journey to actually realise that I was an artist, and actually a non-commercial artist.
Non-commercial. Do you feel like the distinction is quite important?
Yeah, I think it's quite important because I create artworks to fulfill a vision of what I want to fulfill and not to sell.
So primarily, it's that you're serving the vision as opposed to serving.
Yeah, I'd prefer to do other jobs on the side to pay my life.
But has it always been like that in terms of serving the vision or serving the consumer?
Well, I used to work in fashion industries, but I think something on the deep subconscious level I couldn't quite follow, and so whenever I would try to kind of push in a more commercial way, it always used to go wrong anyway.
Oh, okay. But you pushed against it quite a lot, or?
Not too much, but I did try to conform a few times, and it didn't seem to work out that way.
How does conforming look in terms of photography?
Well, it looks like doing what somebody wants you to do.
Yeah.
It kind of generally looks like television or something.
What's the stuff you've done that you've loved in photography?
Well, I've done so much. Like, in fact, most of the photography I really like that I've done. And I guess going back to when I first picked up the camera, then all those things that I did that I thought were wrong, I kind of really love those now.
Really?
Yeah.
In what respect?
Well, there was a kind of an excitement to it, and there was a kind of, I guess, uncontrived, because I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just kind of excited to take pictures. And so I kind of just allowed myself to take pictures, and there's some of those pictures within those works. When I look back now, I can see how like I use them to inspire my newer works.
Wow. So it sounds like there was almost like a purity to that sort of beginner's mind in a way.
I think there's definitely like a purity when there's like a curiosity and excitement.
What is that, like a formula? Curiosity plus excitement equals?
Well, I mean, I think just in my I don't know if it's a formula, because everybody finds their own way, and some people are more analytical and some people are a bit more. I think for me, I feel like I throw things in the air, and I want to be shown by the universe or by.
Wow. Is that like a strategy that you use, throwing things in the air and seeing what the universe has fall out?
It's like a kind of. I think when I first started to take photography seriously, I was very inspired by the surrealists, and particularly Man Ray and a bunch of Czech and Hungarian surrealists from the 1920s. And then the first sort of what I would call proper photography I did, which was, when I say proper photography, I mean like properly instigated, then somehow it looks like the surrealists, and I feel like I kind of evoked the spirit of surrealism into my camera.
Beautiful image. What? So do you feel like that happened quite naturally through your subconscious? Through you naturally were drawn to the surrealists, and then you didn't think much about it, but it just came out like that when you produced your own work.
It just started to come out like that. I mean, I was working with a particular technique in the photography, and basically that when I to do that technique, I needed a chemical that didn't exist, and so I just had the.
What did you do?
Well, I had the idea in mind like a dream, and I just kept dreaming about it. And then one day in a market, I found an obsolete chemistry, which did the thing I needed it to do, and then I recomposed it from the chemist.
Wow, little alchemist.
So
Yeah.
it was more. I just kept in my mind that I kind of willed it really.
Yeah, you kept it in your mind, but you didn't seek it out.
Well, I did. I went round all the photo shops and I rang like, because there was no internet then. It was like, I mean, there was internet, but it would have been like 1997.
Okay.
So internet was kind of pretty limited.
Uh-huh.
And so I went round all the photographic shops and told them what I wanted to do, and they all said, "Oh no, it doesn't exist," and like they didn't know what I was talking about.
How did you know that technique was? How did you know what was needed for that technique if it didn't exist?
Well, I didn't know what was needed, but I knew something similar did exist, because obviously, like, first I was interested in the history of photography. So I kind of, like, if you go back to Fox Talbot, and it was an accident with silver nitrate, and so I knew kind of that it did exist in this format, and then you have like all the collodium glass plate, which is with silver nitrate and chemistry, where you photograph directly onto glass plates. Okay. And I just wanted to do it with like photographic paper, and it was as much out of. Actually, it was as much out of not being able to afford to shoot on negatives, and I wanted to use 5x4 cameras and large format, and to do that, it would have been like to develop, and it would have been like £5 a frame. So every time you click the shutter, it would have cost you £5.
It's a lot of money.
So I didn't have that available. But then I really wanted to experiment with it, and I knew if I cut down the paper from buying it from just paper, it was going to cost 25 pence. And 25 pence was like, well, at 25 pence I can experiment.
Okay. So the financial factor did play a part in your decision?
Absolutely. Well, it wasn't a decision, it was just a need.
A need?
Yeah, because I knew I needed to do it. Well, I wanted to do it. A need in...
What's a need for you? Yeah.
Well, I put the need in to myself.
Did you?
Yeah.
What you...
I was like... Because I knew I wanted to do it, so therefore it became a need.
But I guess we have... You know... How do you... Did you just choose you chose that because you chose that to be a need? You chose it to be a need?
Yeah, I chose it as a... Well, I mean, I guess originally I came to it was because I was working as a hairdresser and working in fashion industries. And so I was seeing a lot of photography. Yeah, I was working with photographers, like, constantly and at quite a high level. I mean, within fashion. And I thought to myself, to be a proper photographer, I need to be able to do it properly. And of course I know everybody around, so I could click the button, but that wouldn't be... I don't think it wasn't the satisfaction that I was looking for.
What was the satisfaction you were looking for?
Well, to actually forge something and create something from nothing. Something
new.
I didn't even think about it being new. I kind of just... It was as much... It was a more experimental... Like, I think I was kind of... I didn't I was kind of more looking to be shown than searching for something I wanted to create.
Were you looking to the universe though? Who
I
specifically?
mean, at the time, I didn't really understand that so much about those kind of more esoterical thoughts. I was quite young. I was in my. Everybody evolves in a different stage in the life, but I think I was kind of. No, I mean, creatively, I was kind of wanting to experiment freely, I guess. And in that, when you experiment freely, then you start seeing things that you're drawn to. And I guess it was kind of, I was looking to inspire myself and not to be inspired by the things I already knew and seen.
What is that free experimentation like for you? What does
Well,
that mean?
it evolves and it changes within within the time. At that particular time, it was literally playing around with the chemical and taking photographs of portraits mainly at that point. So then it was like how that worked aesthetically, and by using this this process through this camera, it was ultimately bringing the darkroom inside the camera. So I saw the different through different exposures and different treatments of light. I actually saw how a darkroom worked,
Okay.
and so it was really almost a technical training program that I kind of inducted into my own imagination.
Or into this free experiment.
Well, it was free in that in certain ways, but then in other ways, I was really looking for it to actually. Yeah, I think I was searching for inspiration, but I didn't want to find inspiration exterior to myself. So I was looking for the inspiration to come from something I touched.
Yes, you wanted to. Yeah, you wanted to experience
Experience the inspiration rather than find it
through experimenting. And was that your primary?
That was the primary goal of that series of images.
Okay.
Which were kind of pretty early on in my photographic career, I guess, from changing. I mean, I was still a hairdresser at the time, so I was kind of in mid-transition. And that was really interesting because I learned most technical things about photography because I was working with a lot of really quite established photographers with lighting and like lab and then there was no digital, so it was all film.
So you feel like being in that space where you're connected to a lot of people already doing it, you're connected.
Well, I wanted to, but I actually needed to disconnect from being inspired by them.
Okay, yeah, okay. So you learned
because otherwise I would be copying.
Do you feel like it was a sort of twin action in a way?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you're learning from outside and then you're like, I need to learn inside. I need to learn inside out as well.
I need to develop the inner before, I was learning outside in terms of, in terms of technically how to kind of manipulate the light and understanding what that would do. And then this way was kind of really actually trying not to be too influenced by it, because it would have been too easy to be influenced by the people I was working with.
Okay, yeah. Do you feel like that pushed you ahead further than you would have got if you hadn't?
No, I think it slowed me down.
What, going inside first?
Yeah.
In what way?
Well, commercially.
Commercially slowed you down?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it brought me to becoming an artist, which I didn't know I was.
Oh, was that a welcome surprise?
It was really welcome surprise. It took a while, and I think people saw it before I saw it.
That's funny.
Because I didn't realise it, but I think people had already realised it when I was doing hairdressing.
Okay, no, I see.
But at that point, I just thought, from from where we're from, a hairdresser is not an artist, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we're from Bradford, the north of
Yeah.
England, where, you know, everything's very functional. I didn't look around and see artists in Bradford. I knew they existed, but I didn't think that they were.
I mean, the most of most of them, I guess, at some point move. Like as an artist, I think it's really important to move. Maybe not just to London, but to change environments.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, because otherwise, well, then I mean, anyway, the environment informs the output of the art to a degree, or the experience.
Yeah.
It kind of the experience is kind of what. The experience is like taken in and digested, and then the output is the art.
Wow, I didn't think about that.
To a certain degree, and when you move around a lot, and especially with different cultures and different people, then I think it opens up a different space. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but maybe one's a little, but it definitely gives it like a different flavor or a different depth.
Different flavor and depth. Do you feel like there's often do you feel like there's one overarching aim of an artist at all?
Well, I think again it like really depends on the individual. I think like there's so much, what that is kind of considered as. Well, I mean, you have an artist and then you have a creative person, and they're not necessarily the same thing. Because a creative person will be somebody that creates something, and usually creative people work to create for somebody else.
Right.
I believe. Whereas an artist develops to create for himself or herself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is tricky. This is in a way the hard part.
Why?
Well, because you have to be stubborn and sometimes we get opportunities where you think, oh, well, it could be easier, like financially, or to actually go with. I mean, basically I was working for one of the top 5 hairdressers in the world, and if I'd have stuck with him and stuck with the route traditionally,
Yeah.
I probably would have been one of the best top hairdressers in the world right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
With all the money and, I'd probably have
What would you have?
I'd have a house.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I wouldn't have a mind.
I think you'd lose it.
Yeah, I think it's possible to lose it in that kind of environment. I mean, already when I was doing that, because, you're working for someone like American Vogue, and basically you've been flown from countries, picked up in cars, taken to top hotels, ferried around, fed like in good restaurants, and you kind of like mollycoddled around the place and treated like a big star, and you earn well.
Sounds nice.
And had I been, had I done the, had I thought to, had I been, maybe in my parents' mind, had I done the sensible thing,
Mm-hmm.
then, I would have been probably like one of the top hairdressers in the world and had that life. And I decided that wasn't for me because it wasn't bringing me happiness. And so even though getting ferried around and being around all these fabulous people and top models, like it wasn't stimulating me as a person. It wasn't feeding what I desired, and I thought it would because I pushed for it.
Okay.
And I mean, when I left Bradford and moved to London, that's what I was aiming for. I wanted to be like I wanted to be the big star in hairdressing. And when I started to come close to it, I realised like that it wasn't necessarily what I thought it was. I thought it was going to feed me emotionally, and it actually didn't. And I think the nature of that industry is quite fickle, and then so it was actually counterproductive in terms of on an emotional level. Because one minute you're like one minute everybody wants you, and next minute they're not that interested because even to the point like you go to parties and one minute you're like top dog and people you've just done Italian Vogue, and the next minute the same people don't even say hello to you. And so it kind of, and I'm quite I guess a sensitive person, so it wasn't, I dropped it, I wanted, and then I started to do photography and I was really excited, and obviously I did photography in fashion industries because that's where I could make work, that's what I knew, that's actually like I could use my resources.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess it wasn't until much later that I realised, like, because in the beginning I think there was much more freedom, and I think after 9/11 actually, I was speaking to somebody the other day, I think everything just kind of like started to become like unified, commercialised, digital came in, e-commerce came in. And I think the creativity out of the fashion industry died, personally.
Mm-hmm.
And now I start to do a few more fashion things, and I think people are excited again because I think things move in cycles. And so 15 years later, apparently my work's fashionable again. Being of the 90s and I still use film and all the rest of it.
Do you find that quite funny?
Yeah, but now I feel much more relaxed and loose, and maybe because I do works that fulfill me outside of this, then I don't actually have any. I'm not bothered whether I get the work or I don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I think before, when I was younger, I was like so desperately after it, then it was like detrimental to the psyche.
Interesting how it was detrimental to the psyche, but you certainly had a very clear goal in mind, and you were very, very desirous of it, and you were desperate for it, and you achieved it. So, is it a bit of a double-edged sword in that respect?
Yeah, I think sometimes if you achieve it and it doesn't fulfill, then it's definitely a little bit upsetting.
To say the least. Don't they say that? They actually say there's nothing worse. What is it? There's nothing worse than
meet your idol, and then you realise that they're an asshole.
So that's one. That's definitely one. And
well, I think I realised that. Okay, so in that context, then I kind of realised that maybe in myself that I saw the asshole.
In yourself?
I mean, to a degree, because I kind of like pushed for it so hard, and like I really wanted it, like I willed it.
Very strong will.
Yeah, and I remember like even when I was living in Leeds, and I started working for Tony and Guy, and Anthony Muscola, who runs the company, and I knew I was going to move to London, and I came down to London to do like part of teacher training and stuff.
Yeah.
And they wanted me to be like teacher for the north of England because basically, and I didn't really realise like at that point, because I'd never really been properly trained. I trained myself just through watching.
Wow.
and I didn't realize like how good I was,
Yeah.
which is kind of, because I think as well it's an attitude of, it depends on when how you grow up. Like you're from Bradford, I'm from Bradford, and we grow up, and if something's fantastic, it's you might get an all right.
Too true.
And it's very rare that you're going to get an awesome. I mean,
Forget about it.
So I think with that kind of mentality, like, I don't know, in my mind, I had to be the best to actually be like. I mean, I had to be the best, as in like known, like worldwide.
That was your aim.
That was my goal.
How come?
I don't know. Maybe it was maybe not being nurtured enough, and like it was kind of a, like I thought it was like maybe an emotional substitute.
Okay, so maybe you, as if you weren't
Good enough, and then like by becoming the best, just all of a sudden you
to the whole world. Yeah.
Your lack.
But then you got there, and that wasn't filled.
Oh no.
Because I was going to say that they say there's nothing worse than not getting what you want, and that's getting what you want, and still not being fulfilled, which I can completely imagine.
I mean, it's disastrous on an emotional level, really.
Is that how you experienced it?
Yeah, I think so.
Because you're around, luxury, you're around opportunity, you're around, industry respect, you're around, as well, the future's, looking bright.
Well, yeah, and everybody wants, like, a part of what you do to a degree.
So you feel wanted.
I mean, you see, I think, like, maybe you kind of feel, it's not really, I don't know if you feel wanted, it's more, because as I said, it's like, it's very transient.
Okay, yeah.
And then I think this is really hurtful, like, I mean, not that people are trying to hurt you, but I think, I guess it wasn't until I actually decided to kind of do and nurture myself, which was nothing to do with the arts or nothing to do with like love or like what people wanted, but actually kind of go back to base and give myself some, nourishment that now I can appreciate that. Okay, it's a transient industry, and if people want to go with it for a while, then why not?
You sound more detached from it in a way.
Yeah, I think it's important.
Emotionally.
Yeah, because I don't care either way. I mean, I know that I'm good at it, and I definitely enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because I make it fun.
And also, do you still, you still want money from it? You still want it to?
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good income. I mean, it's better than doing 9 to 5. I mean, I can't work in an office or do 9 to 5. Like, I don't know. I just I don't have the aptitude to keep a job.
That type of job.
Any kind of job. Like, I mean, not for long.
You kept your other jobs though, your hairdresser and your photography jobs.
Yeah, but that's a different thing because you don't work 9 to 5.
I guess it's less about having a job and more about.
Well, I work for Amazon and ASOS, and I couldn't keep that.
Okay, so is it more on the self-employed basis that you're fine?
Yeah, that's fine because basically you within that context you're kind of like always in a different place, and then I love working. Like I'm actually can be quite a workaholic.
When you work for a person as well in a company.
Yeah. I mean, anyway, when I work for somebody, I always give it 100%. I think I believe that I believe that you have to give everything 100%.
Have you always believed that?
Yeah.
Where did it come from?
I don't know. Just like, it's something in my character. I just like tenacious like that. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right not to.
It's a feeling thing in a way.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a feeling. I don't.
As in what feels good and what doesn't feel good. And natural.
And then, I mean, to kind of like think about it in a more like thinking about it like after, because I think when you're younger, you don't. It's difficult to kind of actually for me because I think everybody's different, and some people are more evolved emotionally, or they're more like in touch with different aspects of themselves from younger. So it's very difficult. You can't put an age on that. But for me, I've always been like, I always felt like I have to give my best, and ultimately, like I think when you do that, if you give your best because if you don't give your best to a job, then when you do your own work, you don't give your best either. I think if you can give your best in every level, then even when you do your own stuff, you to keep that ethos going.
That's amazing. I'm taking that on board for myself. Thank you. Do you ever get to a point where you don't think you can give your best, so you make a decision about that particular
I think
job?
I think at that point then it all goes. I mean, but often by the time I get to that point, it's already kind of solved itself.
Yeah.
I think so. I don't know why in my life it just seems to be like that.
Sounds quite natural.
It's kind of, in a way, quite natural, but I think I kind of like, I find it very difficult to. I kind of wear my emotions on my sleeve, so I, even though I might not say something, I think people definitely kind of pick it.
They can read it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I almost like make them end it for me.
Do you think you've got quite a force around you, Will, and that influences things?
Well, I didn't used to, but I think now I do.
Why is that?
I don't know. I just didn't realize how kind of willful I was.
So is it now you're more conscious of it? You can use it more intentionally.
I can use it definitely more intentionally and like much more positively.
Okay, yeah.
Because before I think it was a bit more of a roller coaster, like it could be negative or positive in the way that I project. It was something I had real difficulties to control.
Right.
So it was pretty. I mean, it was pretty wild, like a roller coaster for many people. Even like.
What were some of the highs and lows of trying to sort of control that will of yours?
I mean, to tell you the truth, I just didn't even. I wasn't even that conscious of it. Like I just kind of.
Is this more retrospectively, like looking back?
Yeah, I think it's a more retro. At the in the moment, like if I didn't like something, I could really like cause like a bad feeling and at that moment I was too much in it, so I was too emotional, so I was too upset. But that upset would be causing like a break or so I kind of like half destroyed, like in what as much as I created, I did actually destroy as well.
Wow, sound like a hurricane a little bit.
But at the same time, I don't think that I was fully aware of that power, like that power or that.
It was sort of just happening.
Yeah, now I'm very much more conscious of like how I direct it, and I feel happier as well. So then, therefore, I mean, obviously, there's things that upset me or I don't like, but I kind of like. I think I can detach long enough to think about it and be able to like react in a nice or in the good way. It's not so like immediate.
So detachments could be.
I think detachment. Detachment's tricky, but I think conscious detachment is interesting, and I think it's kind of necessary.
What is it?
Well, it's kind of like maybe the conscious detachment is to actually to be able to step back, and it's not being detached from what's happening. It's just detaching from how you react.
When you're emotional state.
Yeah, or like, it's giving it a moment to how you actually are going to react to an action whereas when you kind of into this kind of roller coaster stuff, yeah, you kind of act as you feel in the
impulsively,
moment.
yeah.
And so with some jobs, I just walked away. I walked out in the middle of the job, told them to fuck off.
Were there some positives and some...
And really quite big jobs.
Yeah. Were there
like Italian Vogue.
Were there some positives in doing that as well, though, do you feel?
Well, obviously I needed to. I mean, otherwise I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, so do you think you were being true to yourself in a way?
In a way, I was finding myself, yeah, when I first started to do that.
What do you feel like you missed out on that you would have liked to have...
Well, I mean, obviously, like, then people... Well, it's not good to burn bridges, really.
Do you think that's like a bit of a
universal
truth?
If maybe if I hadn't have been so reactory or so like into it, I guess is the word as well.
Very passionate.
If I hadn't have been so passionate, I would have been able to navigate it.
Okay, yeah.
And then like just kind of bit my tongue, got over the day, and then just be like, okay, I'm not going to do that again, and know when to say yes and when to say no. Whereas I thought I kind of was like, oh, that's exciting, let's try.
Yeah. Do you feel like control is like self-control is a very positive characteristic to have for like longevity in terms of success?
Oh yeah, absolutely. For success.
Yeah.
I mean, in monetary success.
Yeah.
Or in emotional success, or in...
Yeah, in monetary success.
On a monetary success, I think it's necessity.
Cool. Good to know.
Because I think, because you're dealing with different individuals, and, I think you can still be strong and still be yourself, but it's never good to be too reactory.
Mm-hmm.
But it's never good to be too placid. I think if you play... I think with me, what people see is because I'm quite jovial, like as in on the surface, and like I'm quite really, I kind of pretty much up for anything. Like I'm not shocked by anything so much really, and I'll entertain the notion of most things. But then I think because people kind of see that, then if they push too far, they realise that I can be quite blunt and sharp as well.
Do you think that's...
Well, I think it's definitely had like a negative impact on myself and people around who've pushed too far in that way.
Do you not feel like everybody needs to have that, though, to have the ability to choose that?
Yeah, but I think it's. I think the more conscious you are of it, the more you can. There's different ways in navigating.
But awareness and consciousness of it.
Well, you can let somebody know that you're not happy, and that's it. Or you can or you can blow up.
Yeah.
And both. You can let somebody know, and if you let somebody know in the right way, then there's room to negotiate.
Nice.
So you could actually get what you want, even by being strong.
Yeah.
But you need to leave the space.
And it requires control in order to
I don't know if I guess it's control, but hopefully it's some
of yourself,
kind
of yourself though.
No, I know what you mean, but hopefully it's some kind of it is control, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's an evoluted self as well, I think.
Absolutely. I've
Because
seen
as
that.
well, I think it's kind of because it can be like a game as well. But that comes with, I think it comes with fulfillment and satisfaction.
What does having the ability to do it?
Yes.
I think so as well. I think it's very hard to do it when you're in a certain emotional place.
It's impossible. I mean,
I believe you.
I think it's impossible. I think like it's really the more stable. I think the more the stable you are within how you feel about yourself, it's not even like a control. It's just like a little game.
Okay, and you're like gradually moving
Well,
forward
you kind of
in the
navigate.
game. You're navigating.
It's like sailing a boat, I guess.
So do you feel like it's like sailing a boat?
You know, or driving a car, or you navigate the.
Yeah.
You know the dangers or the. Yeah, because if you navigate things in the right way, then and you're not so like offended or you're not so emotionally involved to what people are saying because obviously like it's some kind of reaction to what you miss, maybe.
Well, yeah, reaction to what you miss.
Like within yourself or within your psyche and sort of like heart, like.
Well, okay.
So
the
I
more
think
those holes are filled, the more you can navigate around.
Absolutely,
and not
because
seek to fill them.
Because if someone's
inappropriately.
been nasty, you've always have the power to walk away.
Yeah. So stability. So how do you?
I think stability is the key.
How do we build stability into our lives
Well, I mean, I think everybody needs a different.
Do you not think there's like some generalized things that help though?
I mean, I think exercise.
Yeah.
Really helps.
Yeah.
And I think love helps.
From a partner.
Yeah, and then like good friendships, like, and then I guess it's about, but the essence starts within that. But when you can start to access being honest with yourself.
How do you do that, sir?
Well, that takes many hours of practice.
Yeah. In what format have you?
I mean, for me personally, I found it through doing yoga and meditation. I think other people find it in different ways, but I think for me it really helped.
Being honest with yourself.
Well, first of all, like kind of I mean, being honest with yourself is actually it's something I think you continue to grow as. I don't think you ever get to the point where.
So if you've been
it's
honest,
like levels.
Levels, yeah.
And the more deeper stages, the more levels you get, and the more you practice, the more honest you can become.
Yeah. So when you say with yourself, it almost sounds like you're characterizing two people inside yourself.
I think with many people as well. Like I think we have many. We have many different personalities within our self, and
Are those personalities working together towards?
Well, that's the plan.
A common goal of.
That's when the things are in harmony. I mean, like it's a work to find harmony because within kind of. And then I guess like within that you kind of start securing how you feel about yourself. So like you start thinking, well, I'm pretty much content on a general day to day.
Yeah.
And then you have to start to give grace. Call it grace. I like that.
You like a bit of grace, yes.
And you have to be. But I always had this kind of grace like whenever I used to get really upset, and I just used to walk around London and I'd see homeless people and people in really bad conditions, and they'd start sticking out to me really strongly, and I'd just think, oh my God, I'm so lucky.
Also, gratitude was important for you.
Oh, it's always been important since I've been about 20.
Have you always had it, or?
Yes.
You always had it?
I think I had it and not had it. I had gratitude to a degree, but not. It's a funny one because I guess I had, I didn't have full gratitude, but I was grateful that I wasn't at the bottom of what I was seeing. Like when I didn't have gratitude, then I feel like I always saw really mad things with people, I don't know, like begging for money or like, and I really kind of felt like, oh my God, like I'm so lucky. I have food, I have a warm bed, I have friends.
Yeah. Do you think?
And then I used to kind of focus on that for a little while, but I didn't. I
Consciously.
consciously, yeah.
So,
And that used to make me happy.
Wow. Wow.
But
Actually
not
happy.
but it wasn't like, it used to make me happy, but it was kind of happening only in small terms, and then I'd kind of forget about it, and then I'd go off and like kind of be wanting more, like always wanting more. I think I was always wanting more, you know.
Is that an emotion then, the gratitude?
I think it's an emotion, isn't it?
I think it is.
I think gratitude is the key to growth. And I believe if somebody does I think you have to be grateful, like, for everything that you have. Even, the fact that I've got 2 legs.
Why do you think it's so important?
That's all you have.
What, your legs, or just or in terms of like in your mind and your emotional state?
Well,
That's all
the gratitude is all you have in a way, because, like, it's because, well, obviously your legs are important, but if you didn't have legs, then I'm sure you'd find gratitude in other things.
Yeah.
That you have, that you're alive, or that you enjoy, or that you have an ability. And I think in terms of in arts and crafts or whatever, you have to be grateful at, like, if you have a talent, then to nurture that talent, you have to be grateful for it.
Wow.
Like, otherwise you don't fully nurture it. And I felt like in an earlier part of myself, in my earlier life, that I was at a really high level, and I wasn't grateful for what I could do, because I don't know why, but I felt like it wasn't enough. Like, I wanted to be better and better and better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always, like, I remember when I was learning to cut hair, I wanted to cut hair perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I actually almost hit it, like, perfection, as in I could cut to almost perfection. And, like, far beyond anybody I was working with, and which was weird, because, like, I remember when I was living in Yorkshire, and I just thought, oh God, like, I need to move to London, because in London they're so much better than I could ever be in Yorkshire.
Yeah.
And then when I moved to London, I realised that wasn't true.
Do you think it's important to have both, actually? So this gratitude and this stability and this, like, contentness with now, whilst simultaneously having the ceaseless
I think
desire to move forward.
Yeah, I think it depends. I think each individual's so unique that really it's kind of like, it's almost like spending a moment to understand yourself, and actually talking about it's really interesting, because it really brings it up to the surface. Like, you kind of talk about, like, past and present, and you can kind of see, but I think each individual has, it's a different. It'd be difficult to answer for somebody else.
What is it like for you?
For me, I think it's like definitely, well, by being like this kind of wildly wanting to be the best has kind of brought me to where I'm at, I guess. But at the same time, I guess it's brought me to being and then like having this emotional contentment has actually made me able to fulfill more my ideas and visions.
Okay. So they're both important.
I think they're
reasons.
really important because otherwise it's too stressful. Otherwise it's too much like chasing after. It's like fool's gold. You're chasing after something that doesn't, or Emperor's New Clothes. You chase after something that doesn't really, that's not tangible.
I always thought like I wanted to do art in order to actually make big money so that I can then be financially stable and then move on to do other things. That was always my sort of, and it still is my goal actually.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think like to create art, like art in the purest sense, is not about making money. It's like actually that to be creative or like, like visual arts, creative arts, like graphic design, fashion, these kind of jobs, music videos. It's very creative, but I don't see it as being an artist. Because you create something which is of a visual language that you want to eventually use as a tool to sell. And I think to create as a pure artist is something that you just want to create for you. And therefore you actually it's irrelevant whether you sell it or not.
That's amazing. Yeah, I never thought of that.
But the creative arts are just as creative.
It's the intention behind it.
But it's the intention behind it that holds the key to everything, actually.
Yeah, to what it is. What it is in a way, to what it is.
Yeah, well, it's like, to what it is. Because if you're making something to... Well, as in fashion, we kind of create stories, which is extremely creative, and I'm really good with making stories. Like, I really enjoy it, and it's really fun. And then you and then you have to sell the story to somebody.
Yeah.
So you have a magazine or a stylist or whoever it is you're going to work for.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, so they maybe give you a keyword of like, well, this issues of the magazine's about this, or this story's about this.
Mm-hmm.
And then around that, you create a mood board and you create ideas.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely creative. Same with a music video. So you have a song.
Yeah.
And then you have a mood. Mm-hmm. And you have an emotion that you want to, transmit to somebody else as a visual language.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, you're kind of telling a story in a way. And it's not that one's more creative than the other, because they're both extremely creative.
Mm.
It's just that if you made something which was art, then it comes purely out of the heart.
Purely out of the heart, yeah.
That you don't even think whether it should sell or... obviously,
okay.
If you're happy if you sell it.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm really understanding that much more. I feel like my music primarily is, for example, from the heart. But the afterthought has been, it'd be good if this can sell. But then some stuff that I've created recently is being more like informed by other people. It's that you need your verse, chorus, You know, you need something a little bit under 3 minutes. You know.
Well, yeah, no, but this is part of this. I mean, I think this is the same as in when you do kind of fashion or a music video, or because it has certain structure.
Yes.
That is acceptable because it has a kind of like and it's already like it's already a structure that exists that that's tangible for people to actually engage in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas I think art, in the purest sense, I think the artist shouldn't give a shit whether it's tangible or not.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because then it's already like it's already somehow restricted.
I hear that. Do you not feel like some artists are like, I'm gonna do my own thing and it's gonna be massive?
I mean, you can think it can be massive as well.
Oh, okay.
I mean, but not to make it in terms of.
Yeah, I got you. Not to be massive. They just think it will be massive.
Well, yeah, I think you need to have an element of that.
Yeah.
That you think, oh well, this is like amazing. I mean, you've got to think, oh, this is amazing, or this is really interesting, or this is, or maybe not. I think and actually it goes in phases. But I think if you if you make something and then you sell,
yeah,
and then you think, oh, I'm going to continue to make a bit of this because this structure works, then it starts to dilute from the
yeah, it makes sense
from the art in a way.
Is that what happened to Andy Warhol?
No, because I think Andy Warhol intentionally went there.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I do like that. I do like Andy. I mean, I love Andy Warhol.
Is he an artist or creative in your opinion?
I think he's I think he invented youth culture. I think he's definitely a creator. I mean, youth culture as we know it.
And an artist or no?
He's a commercial artist, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, I don't know. I think he would probably see himself as a commercial artist.
Makes sense.
I mean, he started as an illustrator, drawing shoes and fashion, and
I'm super.
And then he kind of created a kind of, but he created a universe. I think I think Andy Warhol did a mix. I think you can mix it up as well.
Okay.
Like for me, when I do my artwork, it's my artwork, and when I do, like, for example, if I do a fashion shoot,
yeah, it's a different thing.
Then, but I enjoy both. But I know when I'm doing the fashion shoot, I'm being creative and I'm making it, but I'm not being an artist.
You're aware of what it is. But
I'm being a creative. I'm being a commercial artist, or a creative artist.
Do you feel like you have to define? Do you feel like you have to define it whilst and set an intention in terms of what you're doing?
I think everything's about intention, and the whole how you. There's an intention behind each word, so I think that this kind of, for example, is like, maybe I do a job for somebody in doing, hanging artworks, for example, and in that, I think, well, I'm still going to give it 100%, and I'm still going to have my taste, and I'm still going to say, well, visually, I think this one should go like this, and this should go like this, and this is how I feel it looks well. But at the same time, if someone says, oh no, I want this one like this and this like this, then it's like, well, I'm doing it for you, so I do it. And I think now I can switch off from that, whereas before that it really I wouldn't be able to switch off from it. And then I think with intention, you have intention within every thing that you do, in a way. And I think so if you kind of think about, if you make a music because that's what you love and that's the music that you make, it can still be commercial.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it's not. It's just about what the intention behind making it is. And I think that I think we can trick our minds as well, like the honesty of the soul or the heart can trick the mind. Because we can believe that we want something or we do something in a certain order, but like ultimately as we progress, then things can change. And we can see, we did it because of this.
So do you feel like the heart and soul can have an intention or does have an intention? And can you change what it is?
I think you can definitely change everything. I think we're like a kind of like I think that we can reprogram ourselves completely. I think if you have a will and an intention, or a will, where there's a will, there's a way.
What is a will?
Well, I guess like a desire or a vision or a thought, then you can make that thought happen.
Is that desire an emotion then? Yeah.
I think desire is an emotion, and I think everything's an emotion, and everything's a positive, and everything's a negative. And I think maybe the work is finding the balance, but it is definitely a life work.
I guess it depends upon a continual sort of snowball intention throughout your whole life in a way.
Well, I think sometimes I think like to go through. I mean, I think definitely if you go through like some kind of emotional or a nervous breakdown, like it really kind of helps you start rebuilding your life in a more positive way.
And in order to do that, do you need to access what your desire is? Do you need to access what your intention is?
I don't know if everybody needs that.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it'd be too difficult to answer from another person's perspective. But I think for me, by going actually having some kind of, I guess I didn't know it at the time, but by having some kind of breakdown was kind of the key.
It was the key?
Yeah, for sure. It was the beginning.
It's a breakthrough. That's what they say.
Yeah, I call it a breakthrough. I mean, you don't feel it at the time, but yeah.
You're too busy sobbing. No,
I'm too busy and like everything else, but like at that moment, or when you start to kind of pick up again the pieces, actually like you're rebuilding things in a different way. I don't know if you need to go through that, but it's definitely call it an emotional architecture.
Wow, that's a beautiful term. So did you have to rebuild your emotional architecture at some point?
I think everybody has to structure their emotional architecture.
Really? Everyone's their own emotional architect?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, because...
Consciously and unconsciously?
Yeah, well, it's usually unconsciously until you're forced to be conscious of it. I think we're quite... I think... From what I can feel or see, we become more and more conscious the more we're forced to become conscious.
What forces us to become conscious?
Well, it could be... Well, I mean, it depends on the person, but I think a lot of it's it could be losing a partner, it could be death, it can be a whole myriad of things, but I think usually it's when something bad happens, or basically losing maybe losing your dream job.
Your dream partner,
being your dream partner, being at the top of your game, and then then nobody's interested.
And then did that happen for you as well, in a way?
I think I I walked away. Yeah, I think I broke it.
Broke.
Well, I mean, for me, it's the time changed.
The time?
Yeah, as in I think in the 90s and the beginning of 2000, there was a lot of like creative freedom within that industry.
Yeah.
And then after 9/11, everything just went fucking television.
The landscape totally changed.
Yeah, digital came huge.
So
I didn't want to use digital.
The job changed, and you didn't want to.
The job changed, as in like every big thing became about being mood boarded, and then even to the point where people would be coming in and sticking the poses that they wanted to do on a fucking wall, like while you were shooting. You know, they want you as a photographer to mood board everything, like tell the makeup or the hair what to do, and like, my God, if you don't do it, then you've got the agent of the people on your back. Like, and well, actually, do you not have a mind? Like, there's no freedom here anymore. There's like, what do you want me to tell you how it's going to go before I've even arrived?
No creativity. No.
Well, it's.
Oh, sorry. No, not as much artistry. Like you're a technician in a way, just executing what they want.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like, you know, I mean, every industry, everything kind of influences everything in a way. But
yeah,
I found, like, you know, it's just a bit boring if somebody kind of pulls out pictures of a magazine that was like 2 months ago and they want you to recreate that because that was some big name.
Totally.
And just like,
yeah.
Well, why would I want to do that?
It's interesting because when you were talking about creating a story, which is what you were doing and what you do, you mentioned it was super fun and you super enjoyed it. And now with that change that came in with the landscape, the creative landscape, it sounds like there's less fun for you. There's less enjoyment.
Well, I think e-commerce killed everything. ASOS and Amazon.
Who you went to work for?
Well, I did. I only for a little while, but only because it was like.
That's the.
Well, I mean, it wasn't even really well paid. Well, it was quite well. I mean, it was quite well paid. It's like £300 a day, like, which is quite well paid.
Yeah.
For doing, and honestly, like, you can operate the camera from the computer, and the joke at Amazon and ASOS was the photographer doesn't even look.
You look weary and you laughed at there.
Well, you look at the laptop, you look at the computer screen and wait, and I've got it. And you operate the camera from the computer, and you know that you've got it because you're looking at the computer screen. You're not looking at the person.
So the
and then the lighting set up, and you know it's kind of mass industry.
Yeah. Okay.
And then magazines and fashion designers basically became like, well, you have a stylist, but basically if you're going to shoot Gucci, it's full look Gucci or full look Prada or full look Balenciaga, whatever. You know, but there's no fun in that.
Is fun important for you for work?
Of course, fun's important for everything. If there's no fun, then I might as well work in the office.
Would you work in an office if it was fun?
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, if it was fun, yeah, but I don't know how fun it. No, I can't go to. I don't think I can have fun by going to the same place every day.
You need variety.
A lot.
But what about when you've done other jobs, like odd jobs, like that have you not done jobs that are in the same place as well?
Yeah, but they don't last very long usually.
Okay, so there's no longevity in that for you. You need the variety.
No, I mean a maximum is a year, and that's already like pulling teeth.
Okay, do you feel like that's partly because of the artist needs to be fed with diverse experiences to make him or her like.
Maybe. I mean,
for you anyway.
Well, depends because in certain jobs, if you get paid well, for example, and you do it like 3 times a week, twice a month, but you earn enough money to live on the month, then I can definitely keep that going.
Yeah.
But if it was every week, 4 days a week, Like, I think
You need to find the balance that works for you.
Yeah, I think that would kind of then I start to become. Unfortunately, I start to become complacent,
And
and
what?
I make mistake. Like, I start to make mistakes
Because you're not trying.
I mean, I always try to work hard, but I guess I just get a little bit.
Do you drop below your normal 100%?
Not while I'm there, but I don't think about it. Like, I completely like. I don't think about it when I'm not there. I don't like give it any more. But when I'm there, I always give it 100%.
But then when you leave, you feel like, nah.
No, I don't even want to. I won't even speak to the people. Like, I won't. Like, I wouldn't like answer. I just don't get involved.
Yeah, you're more detached.
Yeah, and then I obviously start looking for other things when I start feeling like that.
Yeah, you start moving away from it.
Yeah. And I try to do less days.
So what is the?
And usually people, because you work really hard, they want you to do more.
Yeah. What? Oh, okay, yeah. So they want you to do more, but you want to do less. Then there's a conflict, and you want to.
Yeah, and then like if they don't allow me to do it how I want to do it, then I just leave.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, what's the normal process of like a fashion shoot? Like what does it involve?
Well, it starts with an idea, and then you find a team, a team.
A team, yeah.
So you need a stylist, somebody who's going to pick the clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And the more close you are with that person, the better the shoot's going to be.
Why is that?
Well, because basically you give each other the space and liberty, and I think it's like infectious. It's like if you like what somebody does, and they say, "Oh, I've got this idea," and you go, "Oh, yeah, let's try," and you give positive feedback, then you kind of this it's not tangible, but this feeling is like really infectious.
So a feeling again is quite important when you're working.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, because then you know whether because somebody who's kind of emotionally in tune in that way also has a freedom to kind of know that it's not so like static. So it's kind of like, okay, let's try, and if it doesn't work, they have that freedom to like, let's change. And that kind of element that you both know what you're trying to achieve, but sometimes you just need to. It's like a river when it meanders. You need to allow it to form or like move in another direction to bring it back.
Wow. I can't get outside of this notion that it's almost like you're sharing a mind in a way. Like your mind's a river, their mind's a river, and it's going to be joining up. And
when you have this, any collaboration, when you can have this, is really beautiful. And when you have somebody who can't flow, then it's really disruptive. Because then it's about compromise, and obviously within any kind of job that's been paid for, there's going to be certain compromises. But if you can, like, even, for example, like for example, when you're doing a fashion shoot, if somebody won't let you try something, then there's no point to continue with that person, because at the end of the day, you don't have to choose that picture.
Yeah.
But if they're so like dogmatic that they don't want you to try, then there's no point, because basically if you kind of say, oh well, let's try, and if we don't like it, we drop it, like it's no big deal for me. I at least want to give it a shot. At least take like 2 or 3 frames, like, because otherwise it just becomes like, again, it's like, and I think that a lot of the stylists who work a lot with e-commerce,
Yeah.
they're conditioned to work like that.
Right. It sounds
So
like It sounds like you need movement in a way.
I need a lot of movement. Like I need to and actually I need people to express. I like to allow people to express themselves. And I guess that's the most strongest part of my work, and that expression can be whatever that person is. Because if somebody's an intimist, then I'll coax them into being more intimist.
What's an intimist?
Somebody. Well, you have you have exhibitionists and you have intimists. Somebody who's not so. They don't want to like exhibit themselves. So then, if you have somebody like that, then you have to take everybody away because they don't feel comfortable.
Mm.
So the hair, the makeup, the stylist,
You adapt.
whoever, they have to go out of the room.
Yeah.
Because I know with myself I can get something out of that person because I'm quite easy.
Yeah. Is it important for them to be comfortable then?
Absolutely, it's the only way. Otherwise, you just shooting a piece of dead wood.
Wow. So it's a big part of being a good photographer, being able to.
I mean, for me, but other photographers have a different.
Yeah.
Other photographers will be more about the lighting and the equipment.
Okay. But you feel like
But on a commercial
you
level, like that would be important. Whereas for me, I don't really care about the lighting, and I do care about the aesthetics, obviously. But whether it's like daylight or flash on or whatever, I'm not a big kind of techno maniac when it comes
controlling
to
all the
lights. And I'll put a nice basic light, but it's usually really simple, like one light and boom.
Yeah.
Whereas some people, it's all about like reflections and
everyone's got their own intention.
And I think that's fine. There's room for that. But the more in a way, the more lights and the more things you have, the less close you are going to become to the person.
To the subject, yeah.
Like it's a kind of it's like almost an illusion, or it's like a barrier. And so a lot of the times in fashion, unless you have like somebody who's in a similar mind with you, it's like you're in a park or you're in somewhere and, the move and the clothes twist. It's like, well, just allow them to twist. You don't have to pull them straight. I mean, we're not doing a catalogue.
Yeah.
But people's mentality is like, I think we're habitual creatures. So if you're used to working in an e-com, you're not going to let it go.
Too rigid.
And not at all.
Too rigid.
And then too rigid, and then they're in, and they're in, and they're in, and they're in, and the hairdresser's like, well, it's windy. Just let the wind blow the hair where the fuck it goes. Like, if it goes in the face, like, I don't care.
Go with the flow a bit more.
Like, just get out of the picture.
So is the team super important then?
Super important.
Super important, yeah.
It's everything. As well, like, not only is it, like, their ability, but how they make the people feel. Because if you have somebody who's, like, heavy or negative, like, they pass that through especially the hair and makeup. Because they're touching the girl.
Wow. You feel like they pass on?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Depending upon how they are.
And that's why often, like, I like to work with the same team.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because then I can control a team, as in, like, aesthetically we can do many different things. We don't need to work with many different people to create many different things.
Well, you must save so much time working with the same people. In terms of
if they're when they're able, yeah.
When they're capable, it just sounds like the most efficient way to move forward.
It's
because you're becoming
a unit.
A unit. I was going to say a machine, but I guess an organic machine.
That is a unit.
Yeah.
You become like a little family in a way.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like anything is like, actually, you know, and it depends what you give off. So, for example, if a makeup artist does something,
Yeah.
I have to notice what they do,
Mm.
and I have to either change it, or I have to praise them for it.
Why?
Because if I praise them for it, then they'll feel good. And when they feel good, when they touch the girl, they're going to press the good.
That's
Or
interesting.
boy, or whatever.
Yeah.
But if I make somebody feel bad, I also put that bad spirit into the shoot.
Wow. So the passing on of positivity is important to progress in the work that you do.
Absolutely. And then if I need to change it, I need to find a way in which I word it to change it that is still positive. And then when it looks good, I have to praise it.
So there's quite a lot of leadership in that.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of psychology more.
But is there not psychology in the leadership?
Absolutely, but yeah, I guess it's the same. I mean, it depends. Like, yeah, you lead it in a very different. I mean, yeah, you have to lead it.
Do you think? Yeah, it sounds like you need to understand basic psychology in order to lead well.
I mean, it's really simple. It's like when you make people feel nice, they work harder and better.
Good
It's
to know.
as simple
Good
as
to
that.
know.
You know, it's like if somebody makes. I mean, if you don't like something, there's no point to stamp up and down and tell somebody you don't like it.
Yeah.
You more find a way, like, to tell them how to evolve it.
Wow, that sounds like an interesting distinction that you've made between change and evolve. Evolve it, yeah?
Yeah.
Mm.
So then you have to praise the things you like.
So you praise around it, in a way.
And then you develop, and then you say, why don't we move it like this?
So you are still asking them to evolve, to change it,
I am asking them to change it, but I'm making them feel good about it.
by first introducing like some real nice things to praise lavishly.
You know, and then obviously the more you work with people, then the less you have to be so sugary.
So you're more sugary at the start of the relationships.
Yeah, because you're finding out where somebody's at and like how they. I mean, not sugar, not too much, like, because not to a false way.
Oh yeah, totally.
But
genuine,
it's
yeah.
just, you know, it's like basically if someone. So basically, a lot of times people don't notice, and if they do something, even if it's really small,
Mm.
it might be just be like, oh, I really like that line you did, or I really like that shape you made there.
But do you actually not like the shape or the line?
No, you have to like it,
Okay, yeah.
but you notice it, and then you. Whereas a lot of people in fashion, especially photographers, they're not so expressive, so they don't notice it. Oh, it looks great. But looks great isn't as much as a compliment as noticing why it's great.
Well, yeah, I see the distinction. That's cool.
You know,
It's the effect of it that's...
yeah, because then they're proud. And somebody who's proud is somebody you want to have next to you, because if you help somebody to see or feel proud about what they've done, they're going to want to go further with you.
And it gives them confidence.
It gives it not only, yeah, but also then they're buzzing.
Empowered, like...
Like what?
So that's energy, isn't it? So
It's all
like...
energy.
Okay.
Everything anyway, vibrations and energy and words and...
So do you think that like an overarching aim is to...
Well, if
create-
something's a
create-
mess, it's like, you know, you don't like it, then it's like, how do you then manipulate the situation to a way in which you like it?
So do you think that constant like attention to the situation is required to then manipulate it in the most positive way?
It's a positive manipulation. I use manipulation
In a positive way.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
definitely.
fully agree because the word manipulation has got a very negative rep,
but
it can be completely positive. It's like you could, it's like a child who does something wrong. You can manipulate. You can manipulate them to maybe not make the same mistake again, so they don't put themselves in danger or etc.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like you, basically, it's like you like help them. You formulate in a way in a.
Is that slightly like do you think that's slightly paternal and maternal in a way? Like you need some wisdom to exercise that manipulation.
I think definitely as you get older, it's easier. But I think I've always had it. But I think because I was a hairdresser as well, so I know how it feels to be praised for something that's often just taken for granted.
So true. Do you feel like you have to do that to yourself as well?
Absolutely. I mean, it's really important. I think it's some part of growing. Like, I think you have to really find. I think you really have to pat yourself on the back because I think unless you've been really well nurtured as a child, then I don't think you do it so often.
Because I do a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff I feel like I should be proud of, but I never reflect on it, and I just feel starved. And I feel like at the end of the day I've done so much, but also I don't. Sometimes I don't feel as good as I think that I should, and I've just started to realize that and gone, well, actually, perhaps I need to praise myself a little bit for this and this and this.
Yeah.
And then when someone does praise me, I feel just exceptionally. Is the word exorbitant? I feel amazing.
Absolutely.
And you experienced that?
Yeah, I've definitely experienced that. I mean, I think that was part of the drive of, like, in the beginning, like what I was saying, always looking to be the best or...
for the praise as well?
Well, because but I didn't realise I needed the praise from myself.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't until later that I realised that actually self-praise is really important.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was for the... Well, I think because my mum was like always a little bit absent. I mean, now not, like we're kind of now not, but when we were growing up, like me and my brother, and my mum was always absent, and I was always like, I always felt like I was too much, like.
In what way?
Well, too much for them to deal with, really.
I felt the same with my parents.
Like this ball of sunshine that...
I can see you being a ball of sunshine. Like, you've got constantly radiating joy. I was just a ball of just energy. But this ball of sunshine, do you feel like she needs to wear sunglasses now and again?
Well,
or she couldn't interact with it fully, interact with you and hold you in a way?
I don't know what it was, but I think I was just like too much and too... and actually, like, it's really mad, but I was obsessed with clothes when I was young.
Yeah, makes sense.
Like, from about the age of 8. And then I stopped allowing my parents to actually pick my clothes. Like, I wouldn't wear anything that they would pick. And then I was really... I mean, I was terrible in many ways, like, because I was really picky about the furniture, I was really picky about the curtain, like my environment, like, I just felt like I wasn't in the right place.
Yeah, you knew that from early. Yeah.
And, like,
this has to be changed,
I was always, and my mum was really into junk, like, antique shops, junk shops, and I used to love it. Like, I could go, and my dad hated it, but me and my mum could go to the, like, junk shop, and I could spend, like, all day there.
Happily.
Yeah, looking at everything, and I knew exactly what I liked and what I didn't like. Like, and
Yeah, so you had quite you had your own taste, quite refined in a way.
really strong, like from being really young. And like also, I was quite, I was quite like, and my brother's very reserved, and I'm like, I was the complete opposite. And actually, I was kind of pushed, like, I don't think that they could hold the space for me. Like
Yeah.
I was shining too bright for them to hold that space, and I felt like I was not listened to and suppressed a lot. So I think fashion, in a way, the why I wanted to be the best was that I needed to be heard, and like only, but it's only much later that I realised that um, why I pushed so strong was actually that.
So that was the positive in the negative in a way, because the negative might be
Well, it
perceived
was
as not being
really
held.
negative, but at the
At
same
ho-
time, it fueled the.
yeah, something. Do you think? Yeah, would you say it was positive though? That all that experience that you had, and
I don't know. I think. Well, I mean, it was like that, so it'd be really. I mean, it'd be another life if it was.
okay, I understand. Yeah, it's hard to
If I
say.
actually was nurtured, then maybe
Who knows?
who knows? Maybe I would have been even more truer.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe I would have shone brighter.
Mhm, mhm.
Like, but maybe I would have not. Maybe I wouldn't have. Maybe I wouldn't have had the need to.
Yeah, maybe you would have been a dentist.
Or my dad wanted me to be like some intellectual, but well, I mean, it wasn't.
You went. You that wasn't.
Well, I was completely dyslexic, so it's like I didn't think that was going to happen. Like unless someone. And in them days, they didn't really know what that was. It was just like I think at school as well. I was definitely pushed because I was very articulate, but then I couldn't read and write like properly, and because I was so good at discussion
Yeah.
and negotiating with people, they thought I was actually like taking the piss out of them, the teachers,
Flipping it.
and that's what they said to my parents.
But you weren't.
Well, they said that I was like manipulating them.
Oh, what they felt that.
Yeah, because they said I was so articulate and so like engaging, and like when you kind of have a conversation and understand, like I had all the other human aspects going quite strong,
Mhm.
and I could understand what they meant, but then I like when I used to read, it was really weird. It was like all of a sudden, like all the words would just start moving on the page.
Wow.
I couldn't even concentrate.
Is that another reason why you went into, say, like
Well, that's why went into hairdressing.
Yeah, yeah. So
And as well at 15, because I left school without any education. Like I left school before I did any of my GCSEs. So I left school with zeros at GCSE. I didn't even take them. I already had a job as a hairdresser.
that's amazing. So, like, if you imagine, like, now, like, what's your future as an artist? Do you have, like, how do you take things? Do you take it like year by year, project by project?
I think, yeah, project by project, but also like developing themes.
Developing themes.
Yeah, my themes of interest, and it's very like I have a really diverse.
Is there a process to moving through those themes?
Yeah, I think it's. I think by. Like I think I'm really inspired by the practice I did with yoga and meditation.
Still sticks with you.
Yeah, I mean I think part of what it's actually coming into my artwork, like I'm very interested in frequencies.
Mm.
I'm very interested in matter, objects and the frequency of the object. So it's almost like the soul of the object.
Yeah, do you equate the frequency of an object with the soul?
I mean, it's almost like, or the voice, call it.
Or the voice? Okay, like a sound.
Well, it has a, and then so, for example, if I made like call it an not I wouldn't call it a sculpture in a classical context. I'd call it like an assemblage.
Mm-hmm.
An assemblage of materials. Then each material has a frequency, and that frequency could make like a composition, and that composition would be the voice.
Very cool. How does? Okay, this sounds super artistic. Then is it meant to be interacted with, or is it your own exploration?
Well, I haven't fully it's just at the moment like a kind of like in like everything in when I start to like I have a really, and actually I think so maybe it comes from being a child, like because I remember when I used to get ignored a lot. Then I decided, and because obviously I was doing really badly at school, like really fucking bad. And I used to just go off into I could sit in my bedroom in complete silence in one spot and just daydream and create adventures, stories.
Do you feel like that was almost a precursor to everything you did in your creative life?
I got that ability to kind of go into that space, but now I allow in like other element, I feel like I kind of like feel like I have a pretty joyful life, so I feel satisfied in that. I actually have really great friends around me, and I have really beautiful things, and so, and outside of money, I don't, obviously money is something which is an energy and we need it, but I feel like I've come to a space where I can enjoy completely life without money, as long as I have enough to pay the rent and have a dry bed and eat well.
It's not your primary concern. It's just like
it's just a practical
concern.
But I definitely would I definitely know that I definitely seek some kind of security that the money can offer.
For sure.
That's just, but it's more, but it's not like it's not primary, it's secondary.
So for now, the focus is on.
Well, I'm just trying to keep on creating, and then with different, and actually reformulizing the works, and I'm
the works that you've done before,
reformulating
and then,
funnily enough, I met one,
because there's a market for it as well.
Well, I met one artistic director recently because he just done a show, and I ended up installing his show through a friend of mine.
There you go.
And we ended up getting along, and he'd been through a few changes, and he'd had a spiritual shift, and we ended up talking about it. And I feel like I induced it from him just by being around. And then I kind of just mentioned a few things, and it kind of opened up a conversation. And so anyway, basically when I managed to maybe inspire some kind of interaction, and then I showed him a book that I'd made, which I actually designed and edited. And this guy is a very famous art director, and he was like, "Wow, it's brilliant! Did you make it? Did you design it? Did you edit it?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Wow, it's amazing." And then he said to me, "Oh, but you know, like your work now, what you've always done is becoming fashionable." And I thought, well, nice.
So you're going to pick it up?
Definitely. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
really, like, I go to do a shoot next 2 weeks, and we're going to shoot with the Royal Ballet.
Cool.
In Paris.
Very cool.
And there's a budget to do what I want to do.
Perfect.
And then I just think, I really like the team, and I just think, well, why not enjoy it in its way of being fun, not be so like idealistic about that. But at the same time, then it kind of means that I can be idealistic about my art.
In a weird way, because you're almost more detached, you can get more from it, and you can...
Well, I'm going to bring my art to it.
Yeah.
And I don't really care. Well, I mean, I care about it looking great, obviously, but that's in everything. Even if I'm like working cutting cheese, I'm going to make the place.
Yeah, you're gonna.
I'm going to set out like the stall, and I'm going to make it look super nice. Like, I just want to be in a nice environment, whatever I do. Even if I worked in a sweet shop or whatever, I'd like definitely put the energy into making it feel good.
Architect it a little bit.
Yes, because then you feel good. Because it's like...
Do you think that's one of the?
I mean, for me, it's important because it kind of like... Some people don't care about that.
Yeah,
they care about other things.
Yeah, I also wonder if people do feel it on some level, even if it's not on the conscious level.
Sure, they definitely feel
Some people enjoy being in certain places without knowing why or thinking about why, but they're there.
Like, I like, I enjoy people. I like people a lot. Like, I like to make, I like when people express themselves.
Yeah, which you said you also like people, like your team expressing themselves within
Absolutely.
their work, which is contributing to your work. And
I mean, it's like, because then there's like a good, it's a good overall.
Yeah, it seems like
I really enjoy when people express themselves. I like to make people happy, and I like when people are happy. And when people, I have a bit of like a difficulty with people that are problematic. I mean, I like difficult people.
Yeah.
And I like somebody who's like
interesting,
tenacious character or a difficult person. I actually really like that.
But in what way do you mean?
I don't like. I mean, maybe it's something. If someone's like overly pessimistic.
Yeah, you're not feeling that.
No, I don't want to. I'm not going to spend that much time around.
Yeah, Johnny, for you, it seems so much about energy, so much about happiness, joy, like vibration, like, and just having it as high as possible and as expansive and as real, as substantive. And
I mean, I can. I think it's really important to like just kind of. Yeah, I think it's... I mean, not as high as possible. I mean, obviously, it's not always high energy and vibration, You need some, like, low and... You need to develop that in yourself. But in a kind of general, like, going about something, if somebody's, like... If someone's overly negative...
Okay, it's the overly part that...
But then, like, I'm fine with, obviously, like, with friends and partners, like, you're always, like, moody one day, but that's fine.
Yeah, overall.
I don't mind it.
Yeah.
Like, I like it.
Yeah,
Not that I like it, but I like to be like, because then you pick each other up. That's part of being a friend. But... when you kind of give if someone's asking the same advice over and over and over and over and over, I find it a bit like I just kind of want to creep away.
Yeah, it sounds like you appreciate balance and being with what is and what's natural, where and having like a overarching desire for like happiness, which I'm sure we all do.
And progression. Because it a progressive mind or progressive person and progressive. Because I think we're like so changeable. I think we're self-programmable.
I agree.
Really madly and more than we even imagine.
I agree, and I you know what, Johnny, I'd love to maybe incorporate that as a theme in our next session, because for me I agree, and I'm just sort of discovering the programmability of a human being, as we were discussing earlier on. So for now, would love to just sincerely thank you for
no problem
talking with me, and I really appreciate you coming here and
it's a pleasure
sharing your wisdom and your experiences and your soul, and I really enjoyed it.
And keep shining.
You too, sir. You too. Let's keep shining. And so we've been Koi, Colours of You.
Thank you very much.
This is Jonathan Hallam. You can check him out on Instagram.
Hallam Studio.
Yep. And anywhere else where people can catch you?
You can check my website and everything from there.
Awesome. Perfect. Cool.
Nice. Thank you very much.